There is a central force of character that unifies thoughts and actions. And when you're not in accord with your goals, you may feel indecision or conflict within. When you are, a sense of self-confidence and well-being will surround you. Hello investors, and welcome back to Keeping It Real Estate. My name is Dan Brisse. If you're seeking strategies to maximize your wealth, happiness, and fulfillment, then this podcast is for you. We're going to be going over the top 10 takeaways from Ed Mylett's most recent book, The Power of One More. It's the ultimate guide to happiness and success. This book is extremely powerful, and I've already gifted this book to multiple friends, business acquaintances. If you're looking for a book to kind of help you adjust maybe your mental mindset, this book is phenomenal. So let's not waste any time. I'm going to start off by reading a quote from page 35 where Ed explains the concept of your matrix. So consider this. You've got a Wall Street broker that has configured his matrix or his mindset to find money in the vast array of financial markets. And by slowing down and letting go, his matrix allows him to see opportunities and deals that someone who is not intentionally wired and misses. Likewise, ponder the plight of a homeless drug addict on Skid Row, and even though they have no place to sleep and wonder where their next meal is coming from, they always end up finding a way to get to their next high. They've trained their matrix to find drugs, and they become very good at doing it. Both of these folks are living their realities. They both have trained their mindset and their matrix to elevate specific thoughts and opportunities consistent with their goals, and everything they run across tends to confirm that they're moving towards those goals. In each of these cases, their obsession becomes their possessions, is what Ed talks about. Obviously, society is going to judge these people very differently, but is there really a right or wrong, or are they the results of how their matrix impacted their lives? That's the quote from page 35, and when I read that, what comes to my mind is the idea that over time, your mind will automatically attract the things you focus on the most, and you can program your mind to accomplish whatever goals you set for yourself. And that mental programming will dictate where you end up 3 years, 5 years, 10 years from now. That's incredibly powerful to understand and keep in your mind from my perspective. Number 2, moving on to the second point, relates to time management. And Ed in his book teaches the power of time management in basically splitting your days up into 3 different days. So one of his days is 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. noon. The next is 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. and then the last is 6 p.m. to midnight. I have recently implemented this strategy to my own way of being and just my own schedule. Now, it's not exactly following his layout. In fact, most of my days I'm a bit off, but I generally run my days 5 a.m. to 11 a.m., 11 to 4:30 p.m., and then 4:30 to 9:30 for bed. And during those different segments of my day, I'm focused on very different parts of my life, which takes into account my health, business, and my family. So really, to sum up this part of the book, the focus is kind of a guide to help you set up your day to keep you focused on the most important items so you move the needle in a very efficient and effective way during those days. And the goal is to feel that your time is limited so you don't waste time. You know that time is precious. You only have 6 hours to finish this part of your day. So your goal is to work just efficiently, to get done what you're working on, not necessarily rushing through the day and trying to do more than you can accomplish, but just to efficiently stay on task, knowing that you have allocated amount of time for this part of your life. And then that day is going to end and a new one's going to begin. So if you can do that, you can put 3 days into one, and you may start to feel more like you had 21 days in 1 week versus just 7. If you want more information on this particular part of the book, read chapter 4 if you want to improve your time management skills. And here's a powerful quote from Charles Darwin that we pulled from Ed's book to drive this point home. And it says, "A man who dares to waste 1 hour of time has not discovered the value of life." That's Charles Darwin. The next point relates to your thoughts and how you can level up your mindset by asking yourself the right questions or more powerful questions. He brings the point up, do you ever think about what you think about? What is thinking? He says, simply put, thinking is the process of asking and answering questions of yourself. That's how thought works. You constantly are asking and answering questions in your head thousands of times a day. Navy SEALs, they're taught to ask the question, what in this situation can I control immediately? So by contrast, most people are asking themselves, what could go wrong here? Or what can't I control in this situation? Or what should I fear and worry about? I find myself sometimes wondering, what should I worry about and fear? So those types of questions, they lead to poor feelings and emotions and oftentimes poor results. So you have to ask yourself the right questions in order to maximize your return on life. And when you think about it, it makes total sense. Out of Ed's book, he's got 41 questions on page 106. And we're just going to ask or mention 3 of them here for you guys to ponder today. One question is, what's one more way to ensure my values are consistent with my standards and goals? It's a pretty powerful question to think about, and it's not something you maybe just have the answer to immediately, but you can ponder it and you can pause and go back. Come back to this webinar. We're going to keep going. So the next question is, what's one more thing that has provided me with the most bliss recently? What's something that's really making you happy recently? Can you do more of that? And then number 3, a third question we'll mention here today is there one more way I can thank and honor my God for the gifts I received today? Your God, could be anything. Could be energy, could be Jesus, right? Well, can you honor your God for the gifts you received today? Answering these questions may make you feel a little uncomfortable, not always, but in many cases, to grow, the best answers may be difficult for you to address. So keep that in mind and just sit with those questions and see what comes up and jot it down and take notes. Maybe even you have a little diary or something where you can jot down what you're thinking and see if those thoughts expand. And I like to actually do them with my wife. I bring up the question and I have her kind of give me some feedback based on my answers, and it's nice to get another perspective. The 5th point relates to aligning your thoughts with your actions to realize your greatest dreams. To get wealthier, you've got to do more. Specifically, you get rich, highly productive, or happier when your thoughts and actions are congruent. Think about that thought a little bit more. If your goal is to get wealthy, you're going to have a much more likely chance of getting there. Dreams and thoughts without accompanying actions will only depress and frustrate you, is one of the quotes he says here. There is a central force of character that unifies thoughts and actions. And when you're not in accord with your goals, you may feel indecision or conflict within. When you are, a sense of self-confidence and well-being will surround you. And I can say that in my life, when I've been on a goal that really is part of who I am and fulfills on my deepest goals, I have a sense of self-confidence and well-being that just emulates and just flows through with me. And I've noticed when I've been off, I'm insecure, I'm not sure of myself. Tune into those things. And this is why it's imperative that you align your thoughts and actions with your dreams. It'll help you raise your self-confidence and excitement on your day-to-day actions. Number 6, while thoughts are important, the next point emphasized is what you do trumps what you think. Your life isn't based on your thoughts, your life is based on your actions. So for example, show me what you do and I'll tell you what you think. I might disagree a little bit with this here because you would only have an action with the thought. So you think something and then you do. You might have one thought, change your thought, and then act differently. But without an action, first the thought had to happen. So my guess is he's going here for is that your actions obviously are going to dictate where you go. To illustrate this point, Ed developed something called watching a silent movie. This is an interesting concept. Take a look at what you did yesterday. Not how you felt, not what you said, but what you did. And then imagine you watching your day as a silent movie. Where did you go? What did you do? Did you add value? Did you make the right choices? How did you carry yourself? This point is huge. You can predict the results you will get out of life by the actions you take. So take a step back and write the script for your silent movie today. The last 3 takeaways from Ed's book relates to leadership. And on page 192, Ed explains that everyone possesses unique gifts. Some of those gifts you're born with, and some you develop. And as a leader, you identify these unique gifts in others, in people, and you can lead them in a way nobody else can. Typically, people have an innate sense of their unique gifts, but in many cases, they're underutilized because there's been no concerted effort on how to apply them best. So to fulfill on a person's potential, you got to identify what their gifts are. And by validating these unique gifts, what a person has suspected about themselves now becomes their truth. They've fulfilled and are more confident and are armed in an understanding of how they fit into the overall game plan. And as a result, they'll create more value for your dream and accomplish more than you ever thought was possible on their own. And this goes with parenting too. I can say with my kids, I can see some of the times when they're insecure and maybe they have a thought habit that isn't serving them well. And if you can come in there and show them the reality of the future, future and how you can improve on anything. And you don't need to be a business owner to be a leader here. Everyone leads somebody. Everyone's influencing other people. If you're influencing, you're a leader. So don't tune out here and say, well, I don't own a business, I'm not a leader. You are definitely a business, and everyone you get around, you influence. And when you influence those people, it can change the direction of these folks' lives. The next leadership principle is to challenge those under you to do uncomfortable things. And I would add this to challenge yourself to do uncomfortable things as well. If you're a great leader of any sort, you must challenge those under you to do uncomfortable and inconvenient things. You also are going to be having to challenge yourself to do uncomfortable things, so that when things do get tough, you have some grit, you have some fight, and you can rise to the occasion. And it's the only way that the others and you will achieve greatness. As a leader, it's part of what you're in charge of doing. So keep that in mind as a story I'll give you guys real quick. Yesterday, actually, we were flying back from the East Coast, and it was a very late flight. It was myself and my wife and my kids. My whole family was on the airplane. And it was the last leg of our flight from Chicago to Portland, and we took off late and we landed at midnight. And before we took off, we didn't get the kids in their pajamas, and my 5-year-old, he went to the bathroom on the plane. He wet his pants. And midway through the flight, he's crying, and he pretty much, we didn't have any clothes to help him out, and we couldn't get him dry. It was what it was. And I'm carrying him through the airport at 12:30. His pants are soaked, urine's getting all over my shirt and my hands. He's crying, and I'm just thinking in the moment, this is really a unique experience. This is really a gritty moment here. I wanted to lay down and go to sleep, and doing some of the workouts and some of the ice baths in the past helped a little bit, saying, hey, just enjoy this moment. It's not going to last forever, and you'll look back and laugh someday. So that's one part with getting grit going. So number 9 is one of the most important points from the whole book, in my opinion, and it's selling a big dream. And as a leader or a business owner, you need to sell a big enough dream so that dream covers everyone's inside goals and fulfills on everyone's goals. There are just too few leaders in the world who don't sell a big enough dream. You show me a great leader, and I'll show you a leader who's selling a big dream that captures the hearts, desires, and emotions of everyone they lead. And here's another point that's critical about selling a big dream. Everybody you lead does not have to believe what you're saying. Isn't that crazy? They really only need to believe that you believe what you're saying. So if you can get yourself to a point of certainty and conviction that your goals and dreams that encompass others will come true, and you can bring them along the way, folks will follow immediately. Too many leaders are constantly trying to get people to believe what they're saying. That comes across as desperate and weak, says Ed. Great leaders only need to get others to believe that they believe what they're saying. So really, it's a self game. Create certainty in yourself that what you're going to do will happen, and that certainty will be felt. And then number 10, finally, this brings us to the last point, which I think is the most important part of the whole episode, which is using repetition to create a reputation that precedes you. All successful entrepreneurs have a reputation that precedes them. When you meet them, you already know exactly what they're about. That is the way they built a successful brand. They create pre-existing positive ideas about who they are and what they stand for through ongoing repetition that's memorable and easy to understand. Great leaders are willing to repeat themselves over and over again, and Ed calls this suffering from leadership fatigue, because you get tired of hearing yourself say the same things time and time again. But the truth is, you need to overcome this fatigue, because it's your ability to say the same things repeatedly that creates culture in your organization. And culture is massive when it comes to building a successful brand and company. Your message must be so simple that everyone can clearly understand them. Treat these messages and the number of times you repeat them like a crusade, is what Ed says. And as a business person, your marketing, social media, sales materials, and emails should reinforce your mission over and over and over again. As a leader, get to a place where every person you lead can infectiously repeat your message back to you. That makes the people you lead your most significant assets in pursuits of your dreams. Thanks for listening today, you guys. We hope you took notes so that you can implement these powerful strategies right now. We really want to encourage you to read Ed's book to go deeper on these 10 ideas and principles, because this might be your ticket to drastically affect the outcome in the months and years ahead of your life. So see you on the next episode of Keeping It Real Estate, and thanks for tuning in.